have you've seen these two offices, maybe specifically been in it, you've seen it. One of them, in one office, there's really good recruitment that happens. There's, typically training classes in the fall have 7, 8, 9, 10 people in them. In the summer, obviously a lot bigger. There's a lot of activity of coming into the office for interviews. But then training gets run, and for whatever reason, the results don't seem to match up to the numbers of people that are launched. First weekend results aren't that great. Half people, even at advanced training 1, you launch 10, there's 4 or 5 people at advanced training 1, and maybe 2 or 3 of them at the first team meeting that week. Team meeting size does not continue to grow, even though recruiting is robust. And so the weekly sales reports aren't exciting. Managers constantly frustrated that the efforts they're making with recruiting are not turning into big results. That's a vision of one type of vector office that I think is pretty common out there. Now, another type of vector office is where there's not a lot of recruiting that goes. It's the opposite of the previous example, where there's minimal recruiting. Training classes have 2, 3 people. Some weeks there's no training and nobody launches. But the manager has pretty good average results per person. There's decent per weekend business. There's okay development. Meetings are pretty small though, and there's not enough people on the team to compete at the highest level. This is the team that when they go to conferences, they use a slogan like "small but mighty" or something like that, to try to make themselves feel better about the fact that they just got their asses kicked by the teams that recruit a lot of people, right? Can you guys relate to the small but mighty? Have you seen some teams like that, small but mighty? And it's a good team, but they're not going to compete at the highest level. They just don't have the numbers. When I think about those 2 visions of vector offices, I think one of those 2 visions encapsulates most offices in vector. Most offices either have that recruiting ball going, but then the wheels fall off the cart, or they don't have the recruiting ball rolling. Even though they're good at training people and good at developing people, they just don't have enough numbers to compete at the highest level. Now, there is a better way to run a vector office. And I can tell you because I've experienced it, I've felt it, I know it. A great vector office is a combination of both solid recruiting and good development. And the vision includes good sized training classes every single week. The vision includes first weekend results that are solid, $500, $600, $700 average per person over the first weekend, even over $1,000 average per person over the first weekend, consistently. Most of the trainees who launched on a Friday or a Saturday are present at advanced training on Monday. And the vast majority are present at the first team meeting. So the classes are held together pretty well in the early stages. Team meetings have 25, 30 people this time of year, 60, 70, 80 people in the summer. Exciting atmosphere. There's always action going on in the office. The sales reports are robust. Managers hitting their sales goals for both the business and total business on a consistent basis. That's a vision of the kind of vector office that we would like to help all of you be able to run. And it certainly is within the realm of possibility for anyone. Now, part of where this starts is there's a difference between taking what comes naturally and creating what you want. And I really feel like a great vector manager is able to create what they want. They don't just take what happens, but they craft their results. It's harder to do, but anyone can do it. And the real rewards lie in creating what you want. So naturally, the first step to creating what you want is to decide what you want. It's very important to understand what you want to accomplish each year and each campaign. And then to understand how that goal will break down, right? So you take your annual goal for 2017, you break that down into your spring, summer, and fall goals. You understand how much CPO you need to accomplish each campaign. Then you take your spring campaign CPO goal and you break that down week by week. And you also break it down in terms of how much of that CPO is going to come from your existing people, how much of that CPO has to come from new recruits, and how many new recruits will that take. And then you break down that new recruits on a week-by-week basis for each week that you're running training. So that as you get into January, you understand, if I launch 15 in week 1 and 10 in week 2, and then we have year-end banquet in week 3, so that's a 0, but then we launch 7 in week 4, and then 5 in week 1 of February. If we hit these launch goals, we are on track for our campaign goal. So understanding that breakdown is an important key also to being able to create what you want. You have to decide what you want, you have to have it broken down, you have to understand the breakdown. Sometimes the bigger campaign goal of, let's say your goal is to do 200,000 in the spring campaign. Sometimes that goal might seem a little difficult to envision or even out of reach, but the breakdown makes it seem a lot easier, right? Can you launch 10 in the first class of the year? Yes, of course, that seems a lot more realistic, seems a lot easier. So that's why understanding the breakdown is a key to being able to create what you want. Now, it's also important to be able to drive your recruiting, right? Driving the recruiting goals is one of the biggest keys to being able to achieve what you want. I've told you guys probably the story before. When I went out and ran my second branch, we had a goal. We wanted to be number 1. We wanted to do 350,000, and I broke down the CPO goal into the recruiting numbers that it would take. And our first launch goal of the summer was to launch 7. We launched 7. Our second launch goal of the summer was to launch 9. We launched 9. Our third launch goal of the summer was to launch 15. We launched 18. And now here I was 3 weeks into the campaign, and I was just surging with confidence that we were going to achieve what we wanted to achieve for the summer. Even though there were offices in other parts of the country that had a head start on us and were kicking our butt at this point, 3 weeks in, I already knew we've got this. We're going to do this. We're going to make it happen. So I was much more confident about being able to achieve the goal, and I could promote that goal with my team with a lot more congruency because I knew we would be able to do it. When I think about other experiences I've had in creating what I want in my business, there have been a lot of goals over the years that I've hit right at the very end of a campaign or right at the very end of the year. After opening up as a DM, right, we wanted to do Academy of Champions our first year, which was 350,000, and we sold 60. The next year we wanted to break the Western region record, which was 512,000, and we sold 525,000. The year after that, we wanted to do $1 million district, which had never been done. Now, Dennis got there before we did, got there in November sometime, but we got there literally on the very last day of the year. We sold $1,001,800 in our district the year. And those were just a few examples, and there are a lot more examples where we literally hit a goal right down at the end of the campaign. And it's this concept of deciding what we want and then breaking it down, understanding what it's going to take week by week, and having a sense of urgency about the short-term target, hitting those short-term recruiting numbers, hitting those short-term sales goals. But more importantly is hitting those short-term recruiting numbers. So it's obviously to drive recruiting. This is probably one of the things you guys are talking about at this meeting today, is how do we drive recruiting? How do we not just take what's easy, but how do we craft and create our recruiting goals? I do think it's important to utilize all sources if you want to have a robust recruiting office. I know that there's a tendency in the Southwest these days to be a little bit more selective with recruiting. And there are certainly some pros to that, and I don't want to deny those pros. However, I think most of you guys in your division kind of have the philosophy of opening up your recruiting a little bit more likely to give more people a chance and have a greater pool of recruits. In other words, yes, let's go get the good ones, but let's also have greater numbers as well. And I think that's the right approach to be taking. And so it's important to use all your sources, right? Think about if somebody's filling out an IAP, right, from one of our company placed sources, that's somebody who wants a job, right? That's a good potential recruit. If somebody's going on Craigslist, that's somebody who wants a job. They're ready to work right now. That's a good recruit. Those sources should be processed with efficiency. Going to campus, right? Driving a campus program, that's an integral of a robust recruiting office. There should be some kind of consistent campus activity on a regular basis. And then, of course, the PR program, which is the most important of all of the recruiting methods. But this should also be something that's driven on a weekly basis. So this is an important key initially if you want to have a good office, is you got to understand what is your vision of what you want to accomplish. What does that mean in terms of recruiting on a week-by-week basis throughout whatever campaign we're in? What do I have to do right now to drive that number of recruiting? And then not settling for less than what you have a plan. In other words, being proactive, driving the numbers, not just taking what comes in easily. Taking what comes in easily is a recipe to be that second vision of an office that's small but mighty. Driving it, creating it, deciding in advance, this is how many people I'm going to recruit for this campaign, and going out and making that happen. That's what separates a great recruiter from those who are not so great. So think about how you guys can do that, how you can have a sense of urgency for your recruiting. That's a real key first element. Now, once you recruit people, it doesn't make sense to do anything but bring your best to your training and development program. I'm a little confounded by some of the managers that have productivity numbers that are in like the 3 digits. I don't know if any of you guys are in that range, but we've got some of them in the Western region that are like 3-digit PPR, with a decent manager that's, got some pretty good track record of success. When I was relatively new to the business, I saw Don Frieda speak at a conference one time. He was the old founder of Vector. And I remember him saying, he said a quote that I wrote down, which was, "I'm not in an ethical business unless I do everything I can on a daily basis to help people I work with." And I just remember thinking about that idea of it's ethical to train people well. It's an ethical business, right? To train people well, to really put your best into your training and your development programs, right? I want to have an ethical business. I want to have a business people would look at, and that I'm proud of, right? That people would look at and say, hey, that's a great Vector office right there. So I always really wanted to have good PPR. That was an important part of what I was motivated by as a manager. Now, I didn't want to have good PPR, sacrificing the recruiting side, as we've already discussed. I wanted to be able to have an office where we recruited a lot of people and we had good results. So I want to share a few keys that I think are important for training that will help you set the right foundation for our reps. So first is to expect good PPR. Think about what is your standard for productivity per rep. When you're making a business plan for the spring campaign or the summer campaign, what is your standard for PPR? And I really believe that any great Vector manager should be striving for at least 2,000 PPR. 2,000 to me was always the benchmark. And we had several, at the division, we averaged over 2,000. And we had some falls and springs where as a division, we approached 2,000. So to me, 2,000 is the benchmark. That's what separates a great Vector manager in terms of a minimum number of PPR. Now, some of you may be able to go way beyond that. Obviously, you guys had offices in your region that did 3, 4, even 5,000 PPR. So much bigger is possible. But I think for most good, most managers, 2,000 would be significant progress and will be positive. Now, the way I look at 2,000 PPR, think of it this way. You launch 10 people. 2 out of 10 don't do anything. All right, they disappear, they vanish. That's going to happen in any office with the way we run the business. We always are going to have people that don't do anything. That's fine. 2 out of 10 sell about $500, fizzle out. 2 out of 10 sell about $1,000 and eventually fizzle out. Of the other 4, 2 sell 3,000, sell 6,000. And those are the people that you're retaining and hopefully developing that end up doing more down the road. If you think about that, right? It's 10 reps, 2 do nothing, 4 do a little bit and then fizzle, 4, do something significant and are routine. That's 21,000 CPO out of those 10 reps, or over 2,000 PPR. And that way of breaking down a training class and thinking about every 10 reps you launch seems like a pretty reasonable and realistic expectation. So if you think of it that way, I think you can convince yourself that at least 2,000 PPR is a reasonable expectation for any manager running good training. Now, I'll go over a few basic keys to training that I think will help you guys as well. The next one is to create a comfortable atmosphere on day 1. You want to create a comfortable atmosphere. Right when reps are coming in, we want to make sure that people feel comfortable. Think about how most reps feel as they're arriving at training, right? They're feeling a little nervous being there. There's a few people around, right? They're thinking thoughts that we may not want them thinking. So we want to immediately rein that in and have people feel very comfortable right at the outset of day 1. So as managers, we should be actively engaged with our training class at least 30 minutes before training starts. Right? Training is starting at 2 o'clock on a Thursday, right? We're ready by 1:30 in the room as everybody's showing up, and we're making sure that we're capturing everyone, that they're feeling comfortable. It's important to find ways to connect with every single trainee. So think about, how can I have a one-on-one connection with every single trainee, even if it's just 5 seconds? How can you have a one-on-one connection with every single trainee that you have in your training classes? So creating a comfortable atmosphere and connecting with every trainee is really important at the outset. Now, what I also encourage you guys to do, you do this as a group, is think about this question. What are some of the key beliefs that we want our trainees to develop during training? What are the key beliefs we want them to develop? Or key thoughts we want them to have in their head? So I have a few that I think are important. One of them is confidence in the program. We want our trainees to feel like, okay, I am coming to a place where there's a track for me to follow. And if I follow this track, it's going to lead me to at least a reasonable level of success. And to have that expectation, right? That we have a proven program for them to follow. So there are ways we build that up during training. One way is our personal story, right? And we share our experiences and how we became successful. Drop-ins is another way to create that. Because when somebody drops into training, they're seeing somebody who started out just like them, had all the same fears and concerns, and then became successful. Right? When we talk about how it's okay to be nervous or unsure of yourself when you're new at something, that's a way of building that same belief, right? We're letting people know who are nervous or unsure that they're not alone, that that's normal, but that we're going to help them to get past that. At some point during the early part of day 1 of training, you should be introducing everyone on your staff, right? You should have a list of names on the board that you scroll through, or on a slide that you talk about. And if you don't have an extensive staff of AMs, put your key staff on, put some of your reps names on there, right? Talk about some of your leaders on your team. You want people to see that there are examples of other people just like them in this office, started out exactly the same way, and then became successful. That's building that confidence in the program. Another key belief that we want trainees to develop is a desire to sell Cutco to people they know. A desire to sell Cutco to people they know. Right? Do you have those people sometimes come up to you and they're like, yeah, I wish I could just do demos with people I don't know. I don't want to see people I know. Right? That's dumb. We want people to make sure that we create the opposite belief, where they want to go ahead and show Cutco to people that they know. When I was running training, I would always share the story of a demo I did for my sister. And the story is that I wasn't going to even go see my sister for a demo when I got started. Not because she wasn't qualified. My sister is 17 years older than I am. So she was 34 years old. She was married, had a kid, owned a home, was about to have a second kid, was really an ideal Cutco customer, except for the fact that they didn't make much money, and so I was worried they wouldn't buy anything. So I made a mistake of prejudging my sister, and I wasn't even going to go see her for a demo. Then what happened was, on the 8th day of my fast start, one of my mother's friends canceled an appointment with me. And my manager had taught me, when you have an appointment delayed or cancel, don't just watch television. You're planning on working, right? So what should you do? Work. So I decided, who could I see spur of the moment? Well, my sister. So I called her up and went over to see her for the demo. And they ended up buying a gallon set +6, which was the second biggest port of my fast start. And it wasn't an easy sale. They had a lot of hesitation. They thought about it for a while, but they put it on a 3-part payment plan, which was the longest one we had back then. And they bought it. And the point I'd like to make to my training class is that my sister and her husband, my brother-in-law, they're a very ordinary family. They don't have a lot of money. They have, my sister works at essentially a preschool. Her husband is a carpenter. They drive normal cars. They live in a normal house. They have normal clothes. But the one and only thing they have in their house that's truly the best is their Cutco. And my sister is a gourmet cook and loves using her products, using her knives. She loves her Cutco. She has an ultimate set now, plus extras. And she loves it. And it's the only thing they have that's the best. And I like to share that story to build that belief that when we give people a chance to buy Cutco, some of them are going to say no, but the ones that say yes, they are benefiting from this. We want to relate as many stories as we can like that help people build the desire to own Cutco. Lots of relevant stories. Another belief that we want to convey to people is what I'll call the seeds of positive attitude. This is another belief we want trainees understanding early in the training class. The seeds of positive attitude. During the entire time that you work with people, from the time they're a brand new rep until the time they've been in the business for 8 or 10 years and they're one of your CSPs, you should be constantly helping them to develop their mental attitude. So we're teaching different beliefs that help people become better thinkers. Well, the seeds of that starts in initial training. We want people to begin to understand that a big part of their success is based on how they think and on their own attitude. So there are parts in our leader's guide, right, where we are laying those seeds. And again, you guys can talk about what those specifics are, but that's one of the things that we want to do in initial training. And also a belief we want to convey in initial training is a willingness to expand the comfort zone. A willingness to expand the comfort zone, right? I want my trainees thinking, when I encounter something that's a little bit uncomfortable or challenging, that is not a bad thing. As a matter of fact, that's a good thing, because it means I'm growing, it means I'm learning something new, it means I'm expanding my comfort zone, right? So we want them to understand that and to expect that that's a part of what they're taking on with this job. So those are a few seeds we want to convey, or beliefs we want to convey throughout the training seminar. Now, another important idea that is integral to running a great training seminar is the concept of pre-framing. I think you guys all understand the general gist of what pre-framing is. Pre-framing is directing someone's focus in advance. In other words, it's telling someone, this is going to happen, and when this happens, here's how you're going to think about it. Here's how you're going to respond to it. That's what pre-framing is, right? It's telling someone in advance how they're going to think about or respond to something that's going to occur. Now, Drew teaches the 10-80-10 concept, right? And that's a form of pre-framing, right? For 80% of you, this is probably what's going to happen, right? Normal, expected result, right? For 10% of you, everything's going to fall into place as perfectly as could even be imagined. It's going to be super easy, right? And here's what you do when you're in that situation. And then for 10% of you, the other 10% of you, everything's going to fall apart. And it's going to struggle, and this is going to happen, and that's going to happen, right? And here's how you respond in that situation. That's a form of pre-framing. right? I always called that the 3 paths. And at the end of the last day of training, I would always talk about the 3 paths, right? And how for most of you, the job's going to yield the results that match your efforts. If you work hard, you'll get decent results. If you don't work hard, you'll get okay results, right? Pretty much matches your effort. Now, for other people, everything goes right. And you'll have this happen, and this happen, and this happen. And for some of you, you're going to struggle, which is normal when someone is brand new. But there are some struggles. And when you have that happen, what does that mean you have to do? Quit and go get another job? No, of course not, right? It means you work through it, you ask questions, you get support. Maybe you even see the success you're going to reach as being more sweet because you had to work a little harder to get it, right? That's exactly how you respond to adversity if you're on that, that 3rd path where you struggle a little bit. So we're pre-framing the challenges people are going to face. There are a few things I think are important to pre-frame. One, parental negativity. So at the end of day 1, as you're sending people off, right, you could remind them, hey, listen, it's okay if your mom or dad aren't as excited about the job as you guys are right now, right? And if that's the case, don't try to convince them of everything that's going to be exciting all at once, right? Because they aren't going to get it. They weren't here in training. They don't have the same information you have about the company or the products. So just, if your parents aren't that fired up, just share with them something you learned today that you're excited about. And then ask them to give you some time. Ask them to give you some time to show you what you're learning, to show them what you're learning, and to show them how it's going to help you, and to show them the results you can produce. Just ask them to give you some time. A couple weeks, we can begin to win over anybody's parents. So pre-frame parental negativity. Another thing we pre-frame is the awkwardness of the first phone calls, right? People are role-playing the phone, right? And then we say, hey, did anyone find that to be a little bit awkward at first? And some people will raise their hand. And then you go, yeah, well, of course, how many of you have ever used the phone to set appointments for a sales job before? And nobody raises their hand, right? And you're like, well, so this is brand new for everyone. So naturally, it's going to be awkward for some people, and that's okay. And then you explain, right, the importance of following their approach, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right, but you're helping to build that feeling that it's okay if something's off at first. How about things like mistakes on their first demos? That's another thing you can pre-frame, right? When you're doing your demo review at the end of the last day of training, right? You can pre-frame that they're gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. Not to worry about making mistakes, right? This is where you teach them to smile and cut a lot of stuff people are gonna want to cut, right? I used to always ask my training classes, what if you forget to cut the rope? And they sit there like looking at you like, I don't know. And I go, when it dawns on you that you forgot to cut the rope, guess what you do? You cut the rope, right? And does the customer know when you're supposed to cut the rope? No, they don't care. Are they gonna like Cutco anyway? Yeah, they're gonna like it anyway. Are they just as likely to buy? Yeah, they're just as likely to buy, right? So don't worry about making mistakes on your demos. It's okay if you do. Don't try to be perfect. That's an important thing for reps to understand. Another great pre-frame I can teach you guys is something you can use at Advanced Training 1, and it's pre-framing their paychecks. So let's say you're at Advanced Training 1, right, and you have a wide range of results at Advanced Training 1, and you take somebody who's sold $1,000 so far, and you say, so you've already sold $1,000. That means you're going to make $100. You've made $100 so far. Right now, it's only for a couple of days, right? So it probably means you're going to make a lot more, right, during this first full week. You already have made $100, and I want to explain to you why that's so positive. Your first 1,000, you make 100, right? But how much do you make on your second 1,000? 150. And your third 1,000? 150. And then how much? 200, 200, 200, and then what? 250, 250, 250, and 250. And then $300, right? The 11th time you sell 1,000. So what that means is even if you produce the exact same results and didn't improve at all, your paychecks will eventually triple because of our increasing pay scale. Now, do you think you're actually going to improve on the job also as you go along? Yeah, of course, right? And this first, $1,000 in sales is only for 2 days, not even a full week, right? So if your first paycheck is only 50 or 60 or 80 or $100, don't get faked out and think that's not positive, because it is positive, and it's going to get more and more and more positive. Reframing that rep that sold 500 is going to get a $50 paycheck, and making sure that they feel like, hey, I'm on track for bigger and better things. This is a good start. So there are a lot of things you can pre-frame in initial training that will help you to avoid losing reps for reasons that they should not be lost for. So those are a few keys during the training seminar. Now, I also think that during training, one of the most important things that we're trying to do is we're trying to build people's confidence to take action. We're trying to make sure that what we teach, that they're actually willing to do it, to act on it. So I think there are some keys to that I can also share with you guys. One of them is your own confidence in your own promotion. When I think about watching Drew Frank's videos, there's a point in Drew Frank's videos where he talks about reps selling 1,000 their first weekend, and how confident he is that anyone can do that, and that many of them will do that, right? And indeed, I think Drew has like 50% that sell 1,000 the first weekend. That, when I watch Drew, the word that comes to my mind is certainty. That's the word, certainty. This is something I think we can all learn by observing Drew. How do you communicate with certainty, where people who are listening to you feel like, I believe this guy, I can do this, I'm gonna do this. That level of confidence, that level of conviction, your promotion during training is one of the keys to yielding that confidence in your trainees. We talked about drop-ins before, right? We're trying to give that feeling that everyone succeeds. Right? I think in your leader's guide for drop-ins, you have questions like, hey, so did you follow your manual, or did you just kind of do your own thing? Oh, no, I follow the manual, of course. And when you call people up, do they all tell you that they're excited to see if they're going to buy? Oh, no. Most people say they're not going to buy. Oh, but what happens? They buy anyway. Exactly, right? Those are things we're doing drop-ins that are building trainees' confidence to go ahead and take action and work, because they realize this work is going to be worth it. Another key that builds people's confidence to take action in training is simplicity. Simplicity in your training seminar is key. Don't add things into your manual, because every time you have something, hey, add this in, write this into your manual, you're diminishing that belief that what we're giving you are the scrolls. This is it. This is all you need to be able to do really well here. So you don't want to add into your manual. I like Drew's point about reading versus eye contact that he shares, where he talks about how it's okay to read when you're brand new. Don't worry about making eye contact when you're brand new. In fact, if you're reading, the customer knows you're new, they're going to be more patient with you, they feel less pressured. There's a lot of things that are positive about it, plus you're learning things the right way. Right? So we want trainees reading and feeling okay with that. Another way to build trainees' confidence to take action is what I'll call votes of confidence. Votes of confidence. Essentially what these are compliments. Right? You want to catch people doing things right as many times as you can during training, and compliment them and make them feel good. Hey, you did a good job with that. Hey, that was nice. Hey, I like how you did that. Just simple, small, short compliments all throughout training with as many people as possible, repeated, are a great way to build their confidence. It's also important, if you want to build their confidence to take action, that you provide clear direction. Trainees need to be given clear direction, exactly what to do, especially in a few key areas. One key area where clear direction is important is in assignments. When you give assignments at the end of each day of training, be very clear and specific exactly what you want them to do. And do not promote any assignment that you are not willing to hold them accountable to. I think about one assignment we used to give people back in the old days was bring a junk knife on the second day of training, right? We'd have people bring a junk knife. And a lot of people wouldn't bring it. Maybe they couldn't take something from their mom's house, or they're riding a bus to the office or whatever, and they didn't bring a knife. And we wouldn't hold anybody accountable to that. And we don't really need people to bring junk knives anyway. We had stuff in the office for that. So I stopped asking that assignment because I realized it's not something I'm going to hold everybody accountable to. It's diminishing my ability to keep them accountable if I don't follow up on every assignment. So be judicious about which assignments you give to people and make sure that you hold them accountable, to exactly what you asked. Very clear with your correction, so they know exactly what they're expected to do, and then make sure that they did it. Another place that's important to provide clear direction is scheduling, right? When you're doing the scheduling section of training, right? We don't just say, okay, so your first day out there is Sunday. Everybody write in when you want to have your appointments on Sunday. No, we tell people, write an A for appointment at 10 a.m. That's your first one. Now write another one at 11:30. That's your second one, or noon, whatever you do. Right? We tell people exactly when to work. We're providing clear direction for them what to do when they're brand new. The idea of showing their best 5 first. Why that's important, how to pick the best 5. That's providing clear direction. The concept of waves of calling, right? You're going to do 3 waves of calling to make appointments. One of them is right now here at the office. The next one's going to be later tonight at home, and the third one's going to be tomorrow morning, either before you come in or when you get here. 3 waves of calling gives you 3 opportunities to reach everyone on your list, right? We're providing clear direction. And then communication guidelines is another spot to provide clear direction. How much contact do we expect from them and when? And I'm going to get into that in a little bit of detail when I talk about development. A few other random ways of building their confidence to take action. Product conviction is a huge one. You guys can talk about all the ways you do that during training. You don't need me for that. Calling from the office, right? When you have people make their first phone calls, having it be from the office. I'm embarrassed that it took me like 15 years to figure out that was the best way to have trainees do calling, right? We used to just send people home to go do their calling on, and that was dumb. And then lots of contact the first weekend, which again, I'm going to come back to that and talk about that here in a second. Lots of contact the first weekend. So those are a few keys in initial training. Now, in terms of keys to develop, how do you balance having good recruiting, good training with actually developing people? So I want to talk about 2 concepts: amount of contact and effective contact. Okay, these 2 go hand in hand. You got to have the right amount of contact with your people. And then when you have that contact, it has to be effective contact. It has to actually work. So the first thing I would ask you guys is to think about, what do you promote as the standard, the amount of contact with your people? And I'll start with the first week. What do you promote as the standard for the amount of contact with your people over the first weekend? And I've heard a variety of answers, ranging from before, during, and after every demo, to after every demo, to at the end of every day. You can determine on your own what you feel is the right answer. I'll tell you what I think, all right? But I'm not telling you what to do. What I think is the correct answer when trainees are brand new, their very first weekend, is to speak to them after every demo. I'm not a fan of the before, during, and after because I think it creates an unsustainable program that you really don't want to do. Also, I think it's a little harder to sell them on why they should be calling it before a demo as opposed to just once when it's done. But I do think we should make the effort to talk to our people after every demo when they're brand new. Now, as you're promoting this, I think it's important to let people know this is not what we're going to do for the entire time you work in our company, right? However, I'm willing to provide you extra support for the next 2 days to help you get off to the best start. So over your first weekend, we're going to talk to you after every demo. Now, by the way, some of you asked, how do we know how many appointments you do for our base pay, right? Well, you turn in a report on Monday when you come in. Plus, of course, we have a track of your calls to us, right? Those things match up. We pretty much know you've done the work, right? And so that's giving them a little extra reason or incentive why they should be calling in. But we want to be talking to people after, at least after every demo, when they're brand new. Reps' attitudes can go up and down very quickly. And the newer the rep is, the higher and lower the extremes can be, right? So we don't want to let 3 or 4 demos go by without talking to them, finding out how they're doing, and being able to manage that attitude. So first weekend after every demo, I think, is a good way of defining what is enough contact. Now, on a weekly basis, I don't necessarily think after every demo is what you want to be doing. It's not really, you can't really do that anymore, right? After Beyond Advanced Training 1. So on a weekly basis in the summer, every day that they're working, is probably a good way to look at it. Here's how I look at it right now in the fall. How much is enough contact with our reps in the fall? And I think I taught you guys this. I might have even had this in my slides at SLC. One thing I think is important is some sort of weekly one-on-one FaceTime, right? It doesn't have to be a full-on PC, right? We used to call this check-in, and it typically used to happen on Mondays. These days could probably be Tuesdays now, but some type of one-on-one FaceTime where the rep turns in a weekly report that shows what they did last week and what are their goals for this week, and the manager talks to them for 5 to 15 minutes. Doesn't have to be a full PC. If they need a full PC and you don't have time because there's 3 other reps coming in, you schedule a full PC for another day. But some type of one-on-one weekly FaceTime with every rep, that's a key to long-term retention. Now, the next thing I would put on the list of enough contact during this kind of year is team meeting motion that leads to their attendance. A team meeting promotion that leads to their attendance. So is a text okay? Well, I would say if they show up at the meeting, then yes, a text was okay. A text reminder, a text promotion of the team meeting. If it works, that's fine. If that's not working, then there should be a round of phone calls promoting the function. But as long as they show up, then your promotional contact was effective. The next thing I would say is Thursday nights. Thursday nights I found to be an integral night to talk to every rep on my team. And I always wanted to make sure as a manager I spoke to every rep on Thursday nights. Promoting the weekend, getting them in for a phone jam, finding out what they want to accomplish the rest of the week, helping them, to be motivated and accountable. So that's important. Now, throughout the weekend, what I feel like is enough contact is the concept of closing out. What I mean by closing out the rep is that you know what the rep did, and you know that the rep is feeling okay. That's closing out a rep. You know what they did, you know how they're feeling. If they're not feeling great, there needs to be a conversation where you turn around how they're feeling so that they're focused on what's next. What am I gonna do tomorrow? They're not gonna quit tomorrow morning or tonight. That's closing out a rep. If that happens throughout the weekend, again, some of that can happen just them reporting in a text. You know how they did, you know they sold, you can kind of see from what they wrote and putting, they put a smiley face in their text, right? They're probably feeling okay, right? You can kind of read between the lines, but sometimes it requires a phone call right there. And then I would also add either a Sunday night or a Monday morning conversation to catch up on the weekend, find out exactly what they accomplished, and to promote and schedule their one-on-one FaceTime, right? To promote and schedule their one-on-one FaceTime. So how'd the weekend turn out? Awesome. When are you coming in for your check-in? Right? Tomorrow morning at 10? Okay, great, I'll be here. I'll see you then. So if that cycle happens weekly, now you're having enough contact with your people on a weekly basis. This doesn't have to be you personally having all this contact. Naturally, some of us delegate some of our PDI to some members of our staff. But if you delegate to staff members, make sure that you're talking to those staff members, get reports from them, and you're helping make sure that they're keeping things on track. That's enough contact. So how do you have effective contact? Let's talk about this because this is going to apply to managing all of your reps from your newest trainees all the way on up to your longest term CSPs. These are things you should work on in terms of getting great at PDI. I'm not going to give you all the answers right now. These are things you can discuss amongst yourselves. But these are things to work on so that you get great at PDI, so you have effective contact with your people. One of the things to work on is what I'll call situational management. Situational management simply means rep did this, this is how they're feeling, how do you handle it? That is an easy conversation for you to have with each other, with your peers, or during a section at a leadership academy or one of these DM staff meetings. Hey, let's talk about some of the most common PDI scenarios that we encounter and how do we handle that? Situational management, work on that. Another thing to work on to be able to have effective contact with your people is learning how to bring positive energy. Learning how to bring positive energy. This is a concept that I think I've shared with you guys before. You've probably heard me talk about this before, right? Think of every contact you have with someone as either giving or taking energy, right? Did you give energy or did you take energy in that conversation, in that contact? Is the person feeling better and more motivated now or not? It's important to learn how to bring positive energy, especially when the reps are newer. When reps are newer, I would tell you guys, everything that happens is positive. Everything is positive, right? You're talking to a brand new trainee and they're like, yeah, so, they decide between the homemaker or the signature set. So I just told them to think about it and call me back tomorrow. And you're like, oh, wow. You got the customers fired up about either the homemaker or the signature set? Man, you must have done a great job on that demo. Great work. Right? That's what you say, right? You don't look at them and go, what the fuck are you talking about? You can't sell it right now. No, that's not what you do, right? No, like gel, and they're like, oh no, I screwed up, right? So anyway, sorry, sometimes I have no filter, Jordan. Your no filter, no filter, son. But anyway, you're always learning to bring positive energy. It's not an easy thing to do, and you're gonna find yourself having conversations where you totally screwed it up, and you gotta learn from those experiences so you catch yourself the next time. All right. Another thing that's important about effective contact, you guys can talk about getting people to advanced training 1 and the first team meeting. Getting people to advanced training 1 and the first team meeting. This is a whole nother talk, right? But think about how you promote advanced training 1 during the scheduling section of training. How you promote advanced training 1 again during the last section of training where you're going over the office schedule and the communication guidelines. How you promote advanced training 1 during the first weekend as you're having conversations with your reps. And how you promote team meetings both during training, during AT1, and during the days between AT1 and the team meeting, right? Are you able, when you launch a class, to get 90% plus to AT1, 80% plus to the first team meeting? That's what you should be able to do, right? That's effective contact. So think about how you can learn that and how you guys can talk about that. Another key to effective contact has to do with the difference between criticism and constructive feedback. This was a slide I put up at SLC, but I think you guys might remember. I suggested everybody take a picture of it. If you didn't, this is one of the most important things you can learn, right? This is a great concept for managing your candidates right now. This is a great concept for managing your FSMs. This goes far beyond managing brand new reps. With new reps, it's all positive, right? Now, as you get further along with reps, you want to learn to be able to provide constructive feedback. So criticism versus constructive feedback. Criticism has a past orientation, whereas constructive feedback has a future orientation. So past orientation, for example, is like, oh, why didn't we do this? Or why didn't you do this? Or you should have done this. Stop doing that, right? You're like, well, you should have done this. Well, I didn't. So what the heck do you want me to do now? I respond if somebody told me you should have done this. Well, it's over, right? So instead, we talk about, hey, next time you encounter that situation, here's something you can try, right? That's future orientation. Another example of the difference between criticism and constructive feedback is personal focus versus behavior focus. Personal focus versus behavior focus. Personal focus is where you attack the person, right? Dude, every time you tell me you're gonna achieve a goal for the week, you never even do it. What the heck? That's personal focus, right? You're attacking the person. Behavior focus focuses on the activities, right, that they are doing or not doing, and helping them improve what to do, what activities they should be engaging. Here's what I noticed you can do better. This is a specific thing I think you could do that will help you to start achieving your goals more often. And you talk about specific things. Another example of the difference between criticism and constructive feedback is a negative tone. Right? This is classic for all of you guys who are like sarcastic or snarky, right? Which I can definitely be, right? And you find yourself like making comments that are like snarky with people that you're working with, and then you realize like that sucks right there. That's not working, right? And you learn to catch yourself in those moments and to present something with a more positive tone. Problem-oriented versus solution-oriented is the fourth example difference between criticism and constructive feedback. Problem-oriented versus solution-oriented, right? You're at a key staff meeting working with you're at a management staff meeting working with your AMs, and you're like, how come we're not getting PRs right now? Anytime you ask negative questions like that, you're going to get answers that do not serve you very well, right? So you want to learn to ask positive questions that are solution-oriented. What are some things we can do to improve results, right? What's your guys' vision of what our office will look like when we're humming on all cylinders, right? What's one step you think we can take to move in that direction? Those are solution-oriented questions. Those are the ways that you work with your staff, that you work with your future managers, that you work with your top FSMs to help them to improve. So criticism versus constructive feedback. Learn those four different differences and make sure that you are paying attention to how you're working with your people and getting better at those things. The last thing I want to say is that there's a vector principle that all development begins with self-development. All development begins with self-development. If you want to create an office, not only recruits a lot of people, but produces great development, it's important to be constantly growing yourself. It's important to be constantly striving to become a better leader and taking note of the lessons you're learning about how to be a better leader and sharing of yourself with your people, sharing your successes, sharing lessons you learned, sharing the mistakes you're making. Share of yourself with people and help your people to continue to grow as you're continuing to grow. Continue to add value to what you have internalized so that people want to be around. If you think about how I developed a great key staff program in my pilot office, right? I had people in my organization who wanted to hang out with me for an hour, hour and a half every other week, right? I was running a key staff meeting every other Thursday night for an hour and a half. They wanted that time because they wanted to be able to hear what was going to come out of my mouth. What was I going to share with them this time? What new lessons was I learning that I was going to bring to the table? And I was constantly striving to have good things to share with people so that they wanted to continue learning and developing. And that's why people who became prominent DMs or long-term CSPs who sold 500,000 or more kept on coming to key staff functions for 2, 3, 4, 5 years because they were getting good value. And that helped me to develop and retain and build a big team. I just want to wrap up with a vision of a great vector office. And to share this vision, I just want to share with you a few statistics that are real statistics that I experienced in person. Biggest team meeting I ever ran in my life. 113 people at the team meeting. 113 people at the team meeting, and this was the first week of August, the beginning of SC2 push. The first team meeting of SC2 push. That's deep into the summer for us. 113 people at a team meeting. Most people I ever had turn in orders for a week, 109. 109 reps turned in orders for the week. We had 623 orders that week. And we did $119,000 in new business that week. We had 3 reps over 10,000, 10 reps over 4,000. I had a girl sell 39.96, didn't even make the top 10 in the office for the week. We had 15 reps over 3,000, 29 reps over 2,000, 44 reps over 1,000. Think about building that kind of an organization, because any of you can do that. Any of you can do that, and it doesn't have to take a lot of years to be able to get there. If you focus on driving recruiting, and you decide what you want to achieve for the year, and you break that down, you know how many recruits you have to hit each training class, and you proactively drive that number. So you're hitting your recruiting goals on a weekly basis. And then you run good training that implements some of those simple concepts that I ran through with you. And then after training, you have enough contact with your people, and that contact is effective, and you're continuing to develop yourself and give your people the tools to become better both in and out of the business. You're going to build a giant vector office that has big recruiting, big development, big results. You're going to have big paychecks, and it's going to be an exciting vision of a great vector office that you can all have. So those are a few ideas that I have for you guys today. If you have some questions, I'll be happy to hang out for a little while longer and answer a few questions.
So sorry for those 4 people at the team meeting who didn't turn in order.
Did you hear that?
I did not.
He said he feels sorry for the 4 people that didn't turn in an order at that team meeting.
It's all right. It made him feel good.
Boy, take one.
Things that were most helpful. I think it's always good, and for speakers to hear the things that resonate, good reminders. As Dan said.
I used to be really obsessed with my personal growth, and then this past like year I've gotten really far away from it. And so yeah, with that, what he said.
All development begins with self-development.
Thank you guys.
Wasim was just saying good reminder with personal growth.
Yeah, a lot of things. Focused on recruiting every week and that number, always important. I love sometimes, like the expectation of reps, we forget, and we talked about this on our one-on-one call, but if you have 10 reps, you're gonna have 2 no-sailers, 4 will sell but kind of flake out, and then 4 should be consistently with you. And that's if you're doing that every week and communicating effectively to your guys, that's how you build off of team meeting to team meeting. And the kind of the ways you went through how to create that. And then, yeah, kind of what Wasim said, when you're growing, people want to be around you because they want to learn from you. It's huge.
I like the 5 concepts of training, like key beliefs. That's good.
Which, Jordan?
The key beliefs, the 5.
Oh, yeah.
Confidence in the program, desire to sell to people as they know. Positive attitude, willingness to expand, and a pre-frame.
Yeah. Don't lose sight of the importance of some of those like basic training tips I gave you, because I mean I know that was some of those things that are extremely basic things, but that's like the vector offices execute the basic things. And most of the time when an office is not fully functioning, it's because some of the most basic, simple things are not happening. Mm-hmm. So that's why I felt it's important to talk about some of those really simple, basic things, like creating a comfortable atmosphere at the beginning of day 1, connecting with every trainee, right? Those simple things need to be happening all the time. Anything else, guys?
Nope, this was great. Thank you, Dan.
All right, fantastic. Let me know if you guys can help with anything else. All right?
Awesome. Thank you for taking time for us.
Thank you, Dan.
Okay, take care.
Bye.